Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Let's Be Honest with Peter Kozlodoy, the show that dives into issues and topics that are important to me that I don't think we are particularly honest about. Today, I want to be honest about education and the educational system. For many years, I was a member of the board of directors of Junior Achievement here in Connecticut. That is a wonderful organization. It goes into schools and it teaches kids about the values of entrepreneurship and what it takes to run a business and really principles of how the world works that I think our education system does not do a very good job doing. You know, when I was a kid, I was the one to always ask the teachers, hey, why don't we ever learn how to balance a checkbook or how to buy a house, how a mortgage works, how personal finance works, how a 401k works? Where was all that information? All the life skills that as kids we don't learn. In fact, arguably, our education system is set up to create conformists. You know, people who are good followers, people who learn how to be standardized and take standardized tests. Instead, where's the program that creates leaders? And then we wonder why our country is in such disarray. There are many, many problems in the education system here in America, let's be honest. One of them is, of course, curriculum-based. We don't learn the right things, right? You know, anyone who's out there who's been through high school knows that calculus is one of those excellent pieces of math that we all learn. The problem is, I can't think of a single time when I've had to use calculus outside of those classes. Can you? And if we're honest about the things we learn in school and how they do and don't influence our ability to succeed in life, to have a successful career, what then does our curriculum need to look like? Probably a lot less advanced math, and I don't mean to offend any of you mathematicians out there, and probably a lot more life skills. When, by the way, do we learn about entrepreneurship? You know, about starting and running and growing a business, if we're supposed to believe that entrepreneurship and small business is the bedrock of our American community, right? You know, small business, a massive chunk of employment every single year, of course, suffering now, sadly, because of COVID-19. But how do we have this dichotomous setup where on the one hand, we know we need a country of entrepreneurial folks, and yet we don't teach young kids about entrepreneurship? The reason why I'm particularly passionate about that is because when we teach entrepreneurial principles, we also learn about all kinds of other really important things, like leadership and how to lead other people, about finance and how money works and how the banking system works, about selling, you know, the art of persuasion, about communication and marketing, about operating, right? How do you operate with efficiency, create efficiencies in your own life, not only your own business? These are life skills that we don't seem very intent on teaching. And it's obvious to me that it's to the detriment of our society. Not only that, but we have an education system, as I touched on earlier, of followership. You know, it's like, check these boxes, take these tests, be standard, be a sheep. Then when we all graduate and go into the real world, all of a sudden it's different. All of a sudden the message is, you can't succeed unless you stand out. Well, we spend over almost 2 decades teaching kids how to fit in, punishing those who stand out. That doesn't make any sense. Part of the problem here is that we don't have parental participation in our education system. We've gotten to a place where personal responsibility, and I would say this is nationwide, has been shirked. Everyone wants to pass the buck. Everyone wants to come with the litigious mindset that, by the way, we've allowed by allowing stupid accusations and stupid lawsuits to be a thing. Everyone wants to accuse someone else of their problems. Both of my sisters have masters in education, both have teaching experience, and they will tell you that the problem in classrooms begins with a problem at home, with the fact that parents oftentimes don't participate, don't know how to participate, have no intention of participating in their children's education and upbringing. This, of course, is very sad for a lot of reasons. One of which is, again, we have a society of parents who seem to want to pass their kids off to other quote unquote professionals to do their dirty work, their discipline work, right? Well, teacher, it's your problem, not my problem for these 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a day. The problem with that is that in general, we're just shedding our own personal responsibility for, in this specific case, the upbringing of our children, but in a larger sense, the upbringing and the future of our society. I mean, what are we really saying when, parents are saying, no, we're hands off. It's your problem, teacher, not mine. You discipline my kid so I don't have to. Obviously, that's not going to lead to great outcomes. The other challenge with that is teachers are some of the lowest paid folks in our culture. We seem to have decided that the people responsible for the next generation, they're not all that valuable. They shouldn't perhaps get paid that well. In fact, and we'll talk about this in another episode, it reminds me of the many, many folks out there who have honed their incredible skills at throwing a ball around some sort of field, whose value to society I would perhaps question, if we're being honest, especially as compared to a teacher. We're talking about someone who can throw a ball around a field making $60 million and someone who is responsible for bringing up the next generation of Americans $60,000 per year. You tell me how honest that is. And then let's talk about all the problems inherent in our education system when we expect teachers to not only be teachers, but also parents and also disciplinarians and also social workers. And we want to pay them, what I would consider to be a paltry sum for how important that job is. Part of the issue here is one of personal responsibility. There are things all parents can do to instantly make this better for our nation at large and also for their own households by being more participatory. Sorry, you had kids. You need to participate. I guess that's where, that hashtag sorry, not sorry comes into play. But we also have to look at some of the ways we structure the school day and the curriculum, how we force standardized testing on kids and then expect them to stand out later. Even if you look at the school day, experts have largely agreed for quite some time that the optimal learning time of day for kids doesn't happen by making them wake up at the crack of dawn. By the way, making them wake up at the crack of dawn isn't even always aligned with a parent's work schedules, right? I mean, we have a society in which we largely work 9 to 5 or used to before the pandemic. And yet a lot of kids get off school at like 2 or 3. This obviously creates challenges, right? It would be awfully nice if we matched up what the school system was, what the school curriculum was, what the school schedule was to what folks can expect in the real world. If we want folks to work from 9 to 5, maybe they should also go to school from 9 to 5. If we want folks in the real world to do a mix of teamwork and individual study or achievement, maybe we should mirror that in the school system. The system needs a complete overhaul, let's be honest. And it needs to start with what the parent's responsibility is and what a school's responsibility is, what the curriculum needs to be, what the expectations are, and how, honestly, we create leaders instead of followers. By the way, this, I tell the story in my book, Honest to Greatness, about the Ritz-Carlton, right? The Ritz-Carlton achieved what they achieved not by hiring sheep, but by hiring leaders, by hiring and training independently minded leaders who, by the way, they give the power to spend up to $2,000 on a customer's experience without any prior approval. Now, if you're in a classroom setting and you want to read ahead in the book because you're faster than others, well, you're going to need a whole lot of approval for that because they're not going to like that, right? So again, these weird dichotomies that are out there, they need to be fixed if we're going to be honest. And if we want to look to build a society and a culture of leaders, of folks who gather together for common purpose, who achieve big goals, who make positive changes, then we're going to need to be very honest about the changes we need to make to the next generation. They're the ones that are going to come up in a culture and build a society, or rebuild it, as in many ways I believe ours needs to be. As usual, don't take anything that I say on this Let's Be Honest series at face value. Honesty means fact checking everything. These are just my opinions, so go and fact check them. As usual, if you disagree with me, leave a comment and let's have an honest conversation, because this series is all about being honest about things that we sometimes walk right past and don't address, and then having an honest dialogue to figure out where we are right and where we are wrong. So leave a comment and let's have an honest conversation. Between now and next time, I hope you will be a little bit more honest. This was Let's Be Honest. I'm Peter Kozodoy, and thank you for being honest.